Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Andy Wozniak. I'm a realtor and a business coach up in Northeast Ohio, and today we're going to talk all about quitting, and we're going to talk about the dip. The dip is this idea that was brought up by Seth Godin in the book, The Dip. Go check it out if you haven't read it. It's literally an hour and a half on Audible. It's a super easy listen, and it's something that is really changing the way I think about business, and I hope that it's going to change the way you think about business. And really, the first thing we need to talk about is quitting. And what am I talking about quitting? I'm talking about quitting either business ventures that are going nowhere, maybe personal relationships that are not serving you. What do I mean by serving you? Something that's not fulfilling, something that maybe it's a personal relationship that's only a one-way street, something that, or someone that you are aligned with that maybe you don't necessarily see eye to eye, or it's a one-sided situation. You need to quit that relationship. Other things to quit. Maybe it's a product. It's a product that you or your business has that is just going nowhere, and you only have it still in existence or circulation because of nostalgia. Quit that thing. It's not serving you anymore. Another thing that you need to quit right away is something that, it is just taking so much time and you're not seeing the reward coming back to you. From a super young age, this idea that quitting is this awful thing that we need to stay away from is just beat into our heads. It was, at least for me. I was told that you just can't quit. Whatever you start, you have to see through and finish. And today, I'm going to totally debunk that myth. Quitting could very well be the number one thing that you need to do to get on the fast track to success, on the fast track to hitting all your goals. Quitting something that is taking up so much negative space or so much space in your brain that is just not getting you faster to your goal. That's what I want to talk about today. And it honestly is something that's really hard to wrap your head around. But I hope that after I give you these few points, it's going to make a whole lot of sense. Quitting things like, honestly, a job that is a dead end that's going nowhere. Maybe a job that you've been transferred position to position to position. Anymore, you're not seen as someone that has value. You're just seen as someone that can serve a need. You're just seen as someone that can fix a problem that is right now, and not the person that is going to take the company to where they really want to go and grow exponentially. Something else that you should definitely consider quitting is marketing campaigns. Now, be careful there, because for a marketing campaign to really work, you do have to give it time. So that's one that you might want to put a little parameter or parentheses around, because we do have to make sure that any kind of marketing campaign, you do have to give enough time to really start to see the results. And how much time are we talking about? We're talking about at minimum 6 months. 6 months of being consistent with your messaging, branding, logo, and look. You've got to be really consistent with that, and you do have to give it enough time. So that's one that you might want to put a little flag by, but you got to audit that, right? You got to look at that marketing campaign, and is it serving you? If you execute on all levels, is that going to play out and get you the reward and return that you need? So when you're trying to figure out what you need to quit, you got to ask yourself, how are you spending time? How are you spending time in your business life? How are you spending time as an entrepreneur? How are you spending time in your personal life? Where are you giving energy? Now, the real question here is, what energy or what results are you getting in return? If the answer is nothing, you got to quit that, right? So do a little bit of an audit as to where energy is going out and what kind of energy is coming back. Now, once you do that, ask yourself 2 questions. Did you give that thing or that person or that activity, that product, did you give it enough time to play out? Or are you in the dip? What's the dip? Let me tell you. So the dip, again, is this idea that I really want to drive home with you. It's this idea that we all have to be aware of, because the dip is literally the reason so many people aren't succeeding, the reason brands fail, the reason companies fail, the reason entrepreneurs fail and go back and get their 9-to-5 job. It's also the reason that people that are in that 9-to-5 job and at work, it's the reason that they want to jump from job to job to job to job, and that they never feel comfortable or they never feel successful. It's because they're constantly in the dip. So the dip, let me break it down for you this way. The dip is week 3 and 4 of a diet, or it's week like 2 and 3 of going to the gym every day. The dip is maybe your 3rd month in a new job in a totally different industry. The dip is maybe your sophomore year of college, once that luster is really worn off. The dip is your 7th and 8th month of owning a fixer-upper home. It's that grind, it's that drag, it's that, oh my goodness, the luster is gone. The dip is mile 14 through 17 of a marathon. You're past the halfway mark. You're not quite there. You're not in the 20s. It's just that time where you've got to keep pushing through and you've got to keep persevering. So check this out. The dip creates scarcity, and that scarcity then creates value. If you're willing to stick with it and power through, all of a sudden, you are going to be valuable for all of that work, all of that knowledge that you've gathered going through the hard time. Once you make it to the other side, not all of your problems, but a lot of your problems are going to be solved. In that time of the dip, so many people fall off. I'll speak from a real estate side of things. The first year, maybe 2 years of someone being a new agent, people just fall off left and right and left and right. And why? It's because they're in the dip. It's hard, right? Until you figure out exactly what it's going to do to get you the most business, until you figure that out, it's super hard, and that is the dip. Now, some people spend a long period of time in there. Some people spend a short amount of time in there. It's different for everybody. But you have to understand that the dip exists. And once you're comfortable with understanding that it exists and you are aware of it, it's all that much better, right? Understanding that it's there is one of the biggest, most powerful things. Knowing that there is the light at the end of the tunnel, right, is something that is very powerful, right? For a runner on a race that is a marathon, you know where this thing ends, right? And when you do set out to do something new, whether it be a business venture, whether it be a product, you have to ask yourself, what are the series of things that would possibly cause me to quit, right? Instead of setting out on this new venture, things go hard, or things don't go the way that you expect they go. Things are hard. It's not easy. You run into a bunch of roadblocks, and then you just quit as a reaction to your circumstances, versus quitting because that is what you told yourself at the beginning you would do if X, Y, and Z happen. So let me say that again. Before you set out on something new, understand that the dip is going to happen. It is inevitable. Just like the sun will rise tomorrow, it is inevitable. So before you set out on that new venture, you have to ask yourself, what are the conditions that it would take for me to quit? And once you are super clear around that, you can make decisions fast and they cannot be emotional. And that's one of the areas that people make the most amount of mistakes, is that they're just making emotional decisions based on reactions. And that's not going to get you anywhere. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you can do me a huge favor, if you can like this video, if you can subscribe to the channel, if for no other reason that it helps me out so much with my channel, the way that the algorithm works, I really appreciate it. You can always find me at Life with Woz on social media. You can also find me on Instagram, Andy_Wozniak_. Shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Again, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Appreciate you.